good morning to all. Today we are going to learn a new lesson, new chapter, that is chapter 12, respiration in organisms. Respiration in organisms. We all know about organisms. We all are organisms. We all are living organisms. The living organisms includes human beings, then plants, then all animals. All animals and also all microorganisms, all are included in living organisms. And also we know that the ultimate things needed for every living organisms are first one air, second one water, third one food. Air, water, food, then shelter. These four factors are needed for every organism to survive on the earth. Okay, that is that know about all of us. Okay. Then and also we know that we need air. We need air for what purpose we need air? Yes, we know that we need air for breathe. We need air for what? Breathe. We cannot live without taking breath. We know that. Like us, all living organisms do what? Breathing. And also we know that in previous chapter we already learned about organisms. We already learned about what? Organisms. Okay, we already learned about organisms. Okay, we know that all organisms are made of small microscopic units. All organisms are made of small microscopic units. All organisms are made of small microscopic units called cells. All organisms are made of small microscopic units called cells. Cells are microscopic units. Microscopic units. All organisms are made of microscopic units called what? Cells. All of you understood? We know that the all living organisms are made of microscopic units called cells. Then a cell is the smallest structural and functional unit of an organism. A cell is a smallest structural and functional unit of an organism. A cell is the smallest structural and functional unit of organism. A cell is the smallest structural and functional unit of organism. Okay. Then each cell of an organism have certain functions. Each cell of an organism have certain functions like nutrition, transport, excretion and reproduction. Each cell have certain functions like nutrition, then transport, then excretion and reproduction. These are the different functions of each cells. Once again about respiration we know that all living organisms are made up of microscopic units are called cells. All organisms are made up of microscopic units are called cells. Then cells are the smallest structural and functional unit of organisms. Cells are the smallest structural and functional unit of organisms. Then each cell have certain functions like nutrition, transport, excretion and reproduction. Once again about organism. Every organisms are made up of microscopic units, that is called cells. Then each cells are smallest structural and functional unit of organisms. Smallest structural and functional unit of organisms. Then each cell has certain functions like nutrition, transport, excretion and reproduction. Then to perform these functions like nutrition, transport, excretion and reproduction, the cells need energy. The cells need energy. The cells need energy. From where the cells get energy? From where the cells get energy? We know that we need food for the survival or food for growth. So if we eat food from those foods, the cells get energy. Cells get energy. Then and also we know that for eating, sleeping, walking, reading, etc. For all these activities require one energy. For eating, sleeping, walking, jumping, running, writing, reading, etc. For all these activities need energy. Then we know that our parents insist us we should eat regularly. For what purpose they told to us eat regularly? Because the food stored energy. The food has stored energy. The food has stored energy. Then and also the food release the energy is released during respiration. Energy is released during respiration. From in which process the energy is released during respiration. So what is respiration? What do you mean by respiration? Respiration is a process of taking rich in air. That means air rich in oxygen. Air rich in oxygen. The process of taking air rich in oxygen. That is called what? Respiration. Then we know that, and also all the living organisms need air rich in oxygen for what? For respire. And also we know that every human beings, including human beings and all living organisms, body are made of microscopic units called cells. Each cells are the smallest structural and functional unit of organisms. And also these cells have certain functions like nutrition, transport, excretion and reproduction. For performing these certain functions, each cells need energy. From where the cells get energy? The cells get energy from food. The cells get energy from their food. The food has stored energy. We know that for eating, sleeping, then walking, running, writing, reading, etc. For doing all these activities, we need what? We need energy. And also we get the energy from the food. Their food. The food has stored energy. And also in which time the energy is released by our food? During the time of respiration. That means the food has stored energy which is released during respiration, released during respiration. Therefore, all living organisms respire. Therefore, all living organisms respire to get energy from food. So, from this we can understand that all living organisms respire for what? Respire to get energy from food. That means the food has stored energy. That stored energy is released during respiration. So due to this, all living organisms respire to get energy from food. All of you understood? Yes, next. During breathing time, we breathe what? During breathing time, we breathe air. We breathe air rich in oxygen. We breathe air rich in what? Rich in oxygen. And also we know that the air present in the atmosphere contains oxygen. The air present in the atmosphere contains oxygen to breathe us. Next one. Then we know that we breathe out air which is rich in carbon dioxide. We take out air rich in oxygen, and also we breathe out air rich in carbon dioxide. All of you understood? Which air we breathe out? We breathe out air rich in carbon dioxide, and we take air rich in what? Oxygen. We take air rich in oxygen during respiration. Then the air we breathe in is transported to all parts of the body. The air we breathe in is transported to all parts of the body, and also it is transported to each and every cells present in our body. Then in the cells, oxygen in the air helps in the breakdown of food. That means in cells, we know that the cells also need energy. The cells also need energy for performing certain functions like nutrition, transport, excretion and reproduction. For this, we know for this purpose, we take oxygen. We take oxygen in the air rich in oxygen. Then at that time, the oxygen we breathe break down the food and release energy. The oxygen we take break down the food and release one energy, and that energy is transported to every parts of the body, and also it is transported to each and every cells of our body. Then the process of breakdown of food in the cell with the release of energy is called cellular respiration. Next one, cellular respiration. What is cellular respiration? Cellular respiration. Cellular respiration. Cellular respiration means the process of breakdown. The process of breakdown of food in the cell with the help of with the release of energy. The breakdown of food. We know that the food breakdown in the presence of oxygen. So with the help of oxygen, and also the food is breakdown in the cells and it will release energy. That process is called cellular respiration. Cellular respiration means the process of breathing breakdown, the process of breakdown, breakdown of food in the cell, the process of breakdown of food in the cell with the release of energy, with the release of energy. This is called what? Cellular respiration. Then the cellular respiration takes place in the cells of all organisms. It takes place in the cells of all living organisms. Cells of living organisms. Once again, about cellular respiration, we know that cellular respiration takes place where? Cellular respiration takes place in the cells of living organism. Cellular respiration means the process of breakdown of food in the cell with the release of energy. And also we learn, the energy is released during the time of respiration. Then we learn about cellular respiration. Cellular respiration takes place in the cells of living organisms. Cellular respiration means it is the process of breakdown of food in the cell with the release of energy. It is called a cellular respiration. Then in the cell, the food is present in the form of glucose. It is breakdown into carbon dioxide. The food is breakdown into carbon dioxide and water with the help of oxygen. Then that is called aerobic respiration. The respirations is two types. The respirations are of two types. First one, aerobic respiration. Second one, anaerobic respiration. The respiration are of two types. First one, aerobic respiration. Second one, anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration. First one, aerobic respiration. Second one, anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration means the breakdown of food, glucose. Food is in the form of glucose. So, the breakdown of glucose with the release of carbon dioxide and water with the help of oxygen is called aerobic respiration. Air. With the help of air, we know that the air contains oxygen that we breathe. So, aerobic respiration means when the breakdown of glucose with the release of carbon dioxide and water. Glucose is the breakdown of glucose with the presence of oxygen or with the help of oxygen which released carbon dioxide, water and energy. With the use of oxygen. That is called glucose with the use of oxygen. the use of oxygen, glucose is breakdown, and with the use of oxygen, glucose is breakdown and release carbon dioxide, water and energy. Carbon dioxide as water and energy. We need what? We need energy. So at that time, the carbon dioxide released carbon dioxide is released to the atmosphere. Okay, it is called aerobic respiration. Then anaerobic respiration means the glucose breakdown of glucose without the use of oxygen. Breakdown of glucose without the use of oxygen. Without the use of oxygen. Without the use of oxygen. Without the use of oxygen, the glucose of the food release alcohol, then carbon dioxide and energy. Here, in this time, in anaerobic respiration, the released energy is, the amount of released energy is very less. Less amount of energy is released. Less amount of energy is released during anaerobic respiration. The respiration means the process of taking air rich in oxygen is called respiration. During respiration time, the energy is released from the food by breakdown. During respiration, we know that the energy is stored via food. Due to this, we eat lots of food. And also our parents insist us to eat food regularly. Because why they told to us we eat food regularly? Because the food has stored energy which is released during the time of respiration. How the food released during the time of respiration? With the help of oxygen. So we know that the respirations are of two types: aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration means when the breakdown of glucose with the use of oxygen, it will release carbon dioxide, water and energy. Lots of energy is released with the use of oxygen. In aerobic respiration time. So we get lots of energy for the stability of our body, for the growth of our body. During the time of anaerobic respiration, the glucose is breakdown without the use of oxygen. It will release alcohol, carbon dioxide, and also it will release energy. The amount of energy released during anaerobic respiration is very less. So less amount of energy is released during anaerobic respiration. Okay, students, here aerobic respiration. Human beings also take aerobic respiration. Okay, then anaerobic respiration. For example, for anaerobic respiration, yeast. And yeast is an organism. It takes anaerobic respiration. Yeast is a single-celled organism. Yeast. Example for anaerobic respiration. Yeast. Y-E-A-S-T. Yeast is a single-celled organism. It takes anaerobic respiration. because it respire, the yeast respire anaerobically, then and also in this process it release alcohol, and also the yeast is used for making wine and beer. Why yeast is used for making wine and beer? Wine and beer. Because yeast takes anaerobic respiration. It respires anaerobically, and also it is a single celled organism. It respires anaerobically. We know that anaerobic respiration means without the use of oxygen. If the yeast does not need the presence of oxygen for respire, and also it takes anaerobic respiration. And also in anaerobic respiration, we know that the glucose break down without the use of oxygen. It releases alcohol, carbon dioxide, and less amount of energy. And also it releases alcohol. Like this, yeast is also respire anaerobically, and also it release alcohol during the respiration time. And due to this, it is used for making wine and beer. All of you understood why yeast is used for making wine and beer? Because yeast is a single celled organism. It takes anaerobic respiration. It respires anaerobically. We know that in anaerobic respiration, the glucose, that means the food, break down without the use of oxygen, and also it releases alcohol, carbon dioxide, and less amount of energy. During the time of breakdown, it will release alcohol. So due to this, the yeast is used for making wine and beer. Okay, next one. Why we get muscle cramps in after? Next one. Another example for anaerobic respiration, that is our muscle cells. Another example for anaerobic respiration. That is our muscle cells. We know that our body respires aerobically. But our muscle cells respire anaerobically. In a short time. Okay, short time. Then there is a temporary in the time. The muscles, our muscle cells respire anaerobically during a short time with the absence of oxygen, or with the temporary deficiency of oxygen. During the time of temporary deficiency of oxygen, or in the absence of oxygen. Then, like in that situations like heavy exercise during time, or fast running, cycling, walking for many hours, or heavy weight lifting. In these situations, we does not get enough oxygen. At that time, that deficiency of oxygen time, our muscle cells breathe anaerobically. Our muscle cells respire anaerobically in a short time. Okay. So then at that time, we know that if during the respiration time, the food gets breakdown and release energy in our muscle, and respire anaerobically, it will produce limited amount of energy. It is not a continuous process. It takes place during a short period of time. And also it takes place in the absence of oxygen, or in the deficiency of oxygen. Then we know that we need high amount of energy for doing cycling, etc. And also at that time we does not get a proper amount of oxygen, and also at that time we does not get a proper amount of energy for balancing our body. So in that time our muscle cells respire anaerobically. Our muscle cells respire anaerobically. During that time the muscle cells at that time the food, that means the glucose break down in the absence of oxygen. In the absence of oxygen. The glucose break down and to release what? Lactic acid. Lactic acid, then carbon dioxide, then water. Carbon dioxide, lactic acid, water plus energy. Very less amount of energy is released during in the time of breakdown of glucose in the absence of oxygen. Once again, example 4, anaerobic respiration. Yeast is respire anaerobically, and also our muscle cells respire anaerobically. Respire anaerobically, like the glucose breakdown in the absence of oxygen, it will release lactic acid and energy. Less amount of energy is released during the time in the absence of oxygen. Then students, all of you understood about it. Okay, let's wind up the class once again. Revise our portions. What all things we learned today? We learned about organisms, respiration in organisms. We know that all organisms are made up of cells, microscopic units called cells. Then each cell have their own functions. Like nutrition, transport, then excretion, reproduction, etc. And also for doing these functions, the cells need energy. From where the cells get energy? The cells get energy from food. The food has stored energy. That stored energy is released during the time of respiration. Then we learn cellular respiration. The cellular respiration takes place in the cells of living organism. And also we learn 2 types of respirations. They are aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration takes place with the presence of oxygen. Anaerobic respiration takes place without the use of oxygen. And also example for anaerobic respiration, yeast is respire anaerobically, and also our muscle cells respire anaerobically in some situations like if we doing heavy exercise, weightlifting, cycling, walking, fast running. In that situations, our muscle cells respire anaerobically, and in that time the glucose is break down and it release lactic acid and less amount of energy. Okay students, see you in the next class. Thank you.